One of the most striking and painful facts about human history is that societies can get stuck. They can have a pattern of behavior that persists long after it's become clear to everybody that this pattern is harmful, it's holding everyone back. The challenge is how to give people in that situation a mechanism to escape from that trap and make real progress. The Charter Cities Initiative is a framework for reform. Our role at NYU in encouraging the development of entirely new cities, charter cities, is to give countries the confidence to undertake a reform that they think will be beneficial, but is difficult to carry out broadly for the entire society. We have this unique opportunity to do this at the city scale because there's so many people moving into cities in the next 100 years. To put this in perspective, we've spent 10,000 years getting to a point where we've got about 3.5 billion people living in cities now. In the next 100 years, we will add another 5 billion people to that number. That 100-year window gives us a unique chance to use urbanization and guide it in ways that generate true progress. The history of progress is in large part a story of a few people, the dissidents, the ones who didn't share the consensus view of the world, who thought something that others thought was inconceivable really was possible. This is a picture of William Penn, who was a Quaker dissident who was given the area that's now known as Pennsylvania. He imagined that it was possible to develop an entirely new city here in North America. So he created a charter that guaranteed the legal right to freedom of conscience, and he recruited a bunch of people who believed in this concept. That struck many people as inconceivable as a model that could work, but he demonstrated it. It then became a place that many immigrants from Europe went to, and then other cities started to copy the freedom of religion in Pennsylvania because they too wanted to attract all of those immigrants. If the challenge that William Penn faced was to encourage freedom of conscience, the challenge that faced reformers in China was how to take a society which at one time had been among the leaders in income and technology, and which for centuries had fallen further and further behind. One of the most important steps that the reformers undertook was to create some special zones, and one was truly unique. In Shenzhen, the Chinese government tried some policies to allow the market to decide where people could work, to allow foreign firms to come in and work with Chinese firms, work with Chinese workers. The government could experiment with those reforms without forcing them on anybody who feared them or was suspicious about those reforms. Shenzhen shows that a startup city can prototype a whole different set of reforms and laws, and that those can then spread throughout a nation. Those of us working at the Charter Cities Initiative don't believe that you can reform a society just by passing a law. You have to have a mechanism and a strategy for changing not just the laws, but the norms that have to support those laws. The mechanism that we need is one based on 3 principles. You need to start with a charter, and it's got to guarantee first the principles of reform that you want to implement in a place. We came up with a phrase of a charter city. The term charter comes from the charter that Penn wrote for Pennsylvania, and it suggests a strategy of using the Constitution, the commitment to principles, to attract people who have a shared vision and who can build a new community. So the city could start by enunciating the key principles that would organize life there. You also need a commitment in the charter to the principle of choice and mobility. The reforms will have legitimacy in the eyes of the people who live there if they made a decision to move there and live under those rules. And finally, equal treatment under the law. Because if part of what you're trying to do is create a culture that's shared, that everyone believes in. It's like that culture of freedom in Pennsylvania, the culture of market choice, market opportunity in Shenzhen. Everybody has to have a stake in those norms in that culture. The big picture is that charter cities will speed up progress. But at human scale, what a charter city means is new opportunities, new choices for families. When the father from Bangladesh has to go to Dubai and be treated as a third-class citizen to earn some money to send home for his kids, something's wrong. The world should be creating those opportunities for those families to have good jobs, but to remain as an intact family. All throughout history, people have moved because they could imagine a better life for their children. And the ultimate indicator of success would be if every family in the world felt like there were many cities that were actively competing to have them as residents, so they could choose to go to the one that best expressed their ambitions, their hopes.